So I got a quick little video here of Pam Paugh. She's visiting JonBenet's gravesite, and I don't know too much about Pam like we saw in the Patsy analysis. She was also Miss West Virginia in her own right through the circuit, and she was the one who had an opportunity to go through the Ramsey house after it was taped off, and she picked up some things. So here's her. Here she is at this is 9/4/1998 from the Ramsey archives, smaller channel down here. So here we go.
Pretty much all I have left. My baby. I haven't seen this. It's a beautiful place. Oh, and there are angels in the tree. Time there are bells that ring to the church, and I come here a lot and think and pray. Find some peace and it that I share with the world who has come to love my JonBenet, that her family has been so touched by the genuine outpouring of love and support. We love this child. God sent her to us. He belonged to her then. We raised her. We helped her fulfill dreams like any other young girl, any other young boy.
Oh, I was like, what? One thing I don't, and this is what I feel her pain on this, man, not to the furthest extent, not to that extent, but one thing I never want to experience, and you can't control the future, but is losing a niece or a nephew. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I've thought about it. Losing my niece or nephew. Oh no. Absolutely. Absolutely not. So I can't even imagine just kind of going and tapping the gravesite. Just I can't do it, man. That's really rough.
Someone has taken her future away from her, but they've taken away from us a precious gift.
Right.
People have come here and they've said this is such a beautiful place and they find peace. For me,
it's got to be someone who knows.
We're dealing with someone who...
See, the way she's shaking her head right here and before, and I was going to leave this alone.
Come here and they've said this is such a beautiful place. People have come here and they've said this is such a beautiful place. A precious gift. Someone has taken her future away from her, but they've taken away from us.
When she said she's crying and this kind of flash of anger a little bit there when the reality hits of somebody has taken or what happened, because as I'm sitting here and I am experiencing loss, injustice in a way, that injustice shoots up and it makes me look at the camera and lash out at someone, which is exactly what she did. She looked up at the camera and lashed out and said, somebody did this. So it takes me out of that grief stage. And there's this article, man, that I read when I was doing my studies in applied psych, and I can't remember the name of the term, but it's like a term that essentially, and I was asking my professor about this at the time, but essentially says that you might be feeling an emotion, but as you're feeling that emotion, there is an alternate emotion that sort of not suppresses, but is stronger. And so that emotion that you're feeling that is stronger sort of outweighs, in a sense, what you're currently feeling. And so that then your mind diverts to that. And so you kind of see the transition from this grief. I'm overcome with grief. I'm overcome with, the loss of my niece, then straight into her eyes kind of switch. The energy kind of shifts. I'm sort of really grief stricken, and she's really thinking about this.
We helped her fulfill dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Like any.
I helped her we helped her. And there's a build up right there though, right? I'm building up. You can already see the mind going. It's click, 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 boom, to that climactic point of this is what, and so she's reminiscing, this is what we were going to do. But then you took it away from us.
Any other young girl, any other young boy.
Mm-hmm. Right there. She licked her lips, and then that's where the transition happened. And her eyes, like the way she blinked her eyes.
Any other young boy.
That blink, when she any other young boy. And it's like, that's the preparation look. But so we were doing this and that. But there was one thing. I'm getting ready to, to switch.
Someone has taken her future away from her.
There it is.
Taken away from us.
Switch from grief.
Someone has taken her future away from her. By the genuine outpouring of love and support. Any other young boy. Someone has taken her future away from her, but they've taken away from us.
The reason I'm looking at that part, because it's making me wonder, what do you believe? And I'm speaking to Pam. What do you believe? The way that you gave us the preparation look, what do you believe? What do you believe happened? Because you looked up and you said, someone has taken her away from us. And you said it with conviction.
A precious gift.
Looks dead in the camera and says, we had a precious gift. Some sort of hostility.
People have come here and they've said this is such a beautiful place and they find peace.
And that's really kind of a beginning point too. Looking off, people have said they come here and they find peace. Now she's into her little monologue.
For me,
it's got to be someone who knows.
We're dealing with someone who knows us, not just knows our names or have been around us for a while. We're dealing with someone who knows us intimately, the intimate details. We're dealing with someone who had access to the house, access to personal living knowledge.
You think you know this person?
I believe I do.
Do you think JonBenet knew this person?
I definitely do.
Do you think she trusted this person?
Yes.
If that's the case, then, that's very similar to what John said, but let's pretend for a second that Patsy did not write that note. Let's just pretend. So what do you want us to believe? If we're saying it's intruder, if we're saying it's an intruder, what do you want us to? Because this is not. There can be no intruder theory. There can be no intruder theory if we are not to believe the ransom note, then let's just take it out. Whether Patsy wrote it or whether somebody wrote it to disguise, let's take it out. No intruder ever came in the house. It was not an intruder, right? Because this is somebody that you knew. This is somebody that it's a legitimate, and it's not a kidnapping. It's not an intruder, and it's not a kidnapping. So whoever did this, as John, as Linda Arndt reported, you know, when John said this is a inside job, let's just take that out. Because you're saying, Pam, that this is an inside job. And John also said that it's an inside job. This is in 1998. So I have to believe at some point in time, you and John and Patsy at this point have, and the family, because they were a close-knit family, at least on Patsy's side, as we will see, they were a very close-knit family on Patsy's side. So we know that there was a conversation there. Even Nidra kind of pointing out, hey, did you check out so-and-so? And immediately, I believe they think it was Linda Hoffman, just based off what Patsy's mom was pointing out. But we have to, based on what you and John are telling me, we have to throw out the intruder theory, because we now know, according to you guys, that this is somebody, as we've been saying, knows intimately. And we have to question, would the foreign faction, the intruders that are stated in the ransom note, would they have intimate knowledge of that? Number one. Number two, I still haven't seen where John's discussion, he discusses that, the intruder would have seen my bonus. Anybody knows it's just laying around. It can't be Jeff Merrick, because Jeff Merrick can't get in the house. He doesn't have a key. So it has to be the only other person with a key to the house, which would be the inner circle. So it's not really ever an intruder theory that exists. It's just one of our friends that have betrayed us, is essentially what we should be saying, what we should be talking about. And more specifically, it's really hard, right? To just place it all on. I don't know if Fleet White had a key. I don't know if the Steins had a key. I can't remember the guy's name right now. Santa Claus, Bill. I don't know who had a key. I don't know if Mr. Barnhill, across the street, who used to keep JonBenet's dog, I can't remember if he had a key. Who had a key to the house is what I'm saying. And what's also interesting is that I don't think Nidra wanted to come down, but I think Don wanted to come down and kind of help John for a while. Patsy's dad wanted to come down and help John for a while, run the business, kind of help him out and stuff like that. Where was he? Did he go back to West Virginia? Because I know Nidra didn't want to come down. So she was like, nah, I'm just going to come watch my granddaughter for a little bit and I'm going to go back. So I'm curious, who can we put in the pot of people who had the key? If John is saying, if they're saying the house was locked up, nobody could get in, who would have had, and as we say, it's dark, who would have had intimate enough knowledge? Because remember, we don't have any technology, as far as I'm aware, we don't have any technology to monitor their house. So whoever this is was able to sneak in without being, and to know that, because Burke, as he said, crept back downstairs. We don't know how long Burke was downstairs, but this person had to know that Burke had gone back upstairs and had went to sleep, and was able to go in and know exactly where JonBenet was, whether she was in Burke's room again. I might be inclined to believe that JonBenet was going to sleep in Burke's room again in order to get up early in the morning again, since she had done that on Christmas Eve. Maybe she's going to do it again in order to wake her up early in the morning. So it's possible that she would have been in Burke's room, because, like I say, it didn't say, when in the police report, John didn't say, I took my kids up and put them in separate rooms or put them in separate beds. He said, I put JonBenet to bed. So we don't know where he put JonBenet to bed. So it's possible that he did put JonBenet to bed back in Burke's room, which would make it easier for him to read a bedtime story to both Burke and JonBenet at the same time. If I read to JonBenet, if they are both in the same room, and I read to Burke and JonBenet, and that would make it easier for me to put them both to sleep, read them both a book at the same time, and then for me to be in bed by and as Patsy's dressing JonBenet, changing her clothes, it would make it easier for me to then go back to bed at 10 or go to bed at 10:30, because now I've dealt with both kids. Burke, you get your clothes on, lay in the bed. JonBenet, we're going to dress you up, lay in the bed. We're going to read you both the same bedtime story. Go to sleep, close your eyes, lay in the bed. I get up, I go to bed, I take my melatonin, I'm laying down. But the thing about it is, if JonBenet is knocked out, she's knocked out. She's done. She's asleep. But if she's halfway asleep, because she's not, now she's ready to go, you know, if you had me in a bumpy car ride, like I said before, kids have this way of waking up. If Burke gets up and goes downstairs and JonBenet hears the rustling of the covers, or she happens to wake up and look over and see Burke is not there, it's possible that she would get up and be like, boop, 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 boom, probably adored Burke, and walk downstairs to see her big brother. Burke, what are you doing? Blah, 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 this, that, and the third. One or two things were happening. Either Patsy and John were actually legitimately still awake, or three, packing and getting ready and so on and so forth. Number two, John was asleep, but Patsy was still awake, packing and maybe wrapping some last minute gifts, doing whatever. And so she was moving around. And so as she was moving around, Burke comes downstairs and say, Mom, because, you know, somebody had to be down there. Either Burke is he's capable at 9 to make his own pineapples and milk and his own tea, because Burke got up and went back downstairs. So somebody had to, and I will give you the pineapple, but I will not give you the tea unless they had bottled tea. Burke is not making that by himself. So some adult had to be down there to accompany him making his food, at least. So he goes down there and somebody is there to meet him. What's going on, babe? What do you need? Mom's packing. Dad's packing. Trying to get ready for tomorrow. What do you need? Mom, Burke is like, Mom, I'm hungry. Okay, you want your favorite? You want your pineapples and milk? Makes that for him. But then 5 minutes later, JonBenet comes downstairs. Mom, I want something too. Okay, JonBenet, whatever, this, that, and the third. But I do wonder then, Mom, can I go? And Burke is like, he's eating his stuff. And Burke is the big brother who he wants to seem cool. He doesn't want to be bothered. So he says, Mom, you know what? I don't want to sit here with JonBenet. JonBenet's bothering me, blah, blah, this, that, and the third. She's being an annoying little sister. I'm going to go downstairs. Or one or two things. Patsy goes upstairs for a quick second to get something from the room. Or she goes I'm going to go upstairs. Burke, you eat your stuff. JonBenet, share with your brother. I'm going to go upstairs in John Andrew's room and I'm going to pack. Or she turns around for a second. Burke says, Mom, I'm going to go downstairs. I really want to play with my gifts for a second. Cool, babe. Go downstairs. Do what you do. Burke goes downstairs. JonBenet, again, being the annoying little sister. Oh, Burke, where are you going? I want to follow you everywhere. You're my big brother. I think you're so cool. He goes downstairs. And then they're down there playing. Patsy loses track of what they're doing because she's trying to get everything packed for everyone. Going down there playing, and then all of a sudden happens, and Patsy runs downstairs. So the "Where is my baby" might have been misplaced because it might not have been in Burke's room when she opens up Burke's room, but it might have been actually running downstairs to the basement to see what happened. That's what I'm saying. So getting back to my original point, it's hard for me to believe that there was any, you're confusing me with this letter because it's like, it could be Patsy's writing. And even if it's not, whoever this was had to navigate around that. If they're going to be an intruder, they had to navigate around Burke getting back downstairs and eating his food and waiting for him to go back upstairs. That's what they had to navigate around. And that is very hard. That squeezes the timeline even more. That's going to squeeze the timeline even more. And we know JonBenet wasn't killed. JonBenet wasn't killed. She was killed between up to 2 o'clock. I would say up to 2 a.m. It ain't, oh, the crime happened, all the way from, 10:30 to 5:30 a.m. 10:30 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. Nope. That timeline at the max was like 2 a.m. So whoever did this waited, and it had to be quick. So this is somebody, and it's like, it's hard for me to, it can't be, now we got to talk about motivations. It cannot be Linda Hoffman Pugh. Why? Because if Linda's motivation is to get ransom money, number one, how is that going to work out? How are you going to give, if you take JonBenet, how are you going to give JonBenet back? If you're talking about ransom money, Linda Hoffman Pugh would not need ransom money, because she already asked you for what she needed and you were going to give it to her. And you said it was on the kitchen counter or the steps or wherever the check was, that you guys were in alignment. She has a key, but the motivation is not there because she's getting the money that she needs. You haven't told her no. You haven't turned her away. But now what would have to happen is that she brings in Mervin. Mervin, her husband, says, you know what, babe, I'm gonna ride over there with you. It's late at night. I'm gonna ride over there with you. It's okay for us to sneak into this house because if Burke's sitting down there, John goes up at 10:30. Burke wakes back up because no doubt Burke not only wanted to play with his train set, he wanted to play with his Nintendo. Because I know that feeling. Come on, man. I used to do that all the time. Got an Xbox, wait till my parents go to sleep, get back up and go play the Xbox. And I'd be in there, man, probably about an hour or two at least, just playing video games and be tired for school in the morning. I play that thing all night, which is no doubt probably what Burke was trying to do. So Burke was going to be down there for a little bit of a stint. So whoever knew had to come in, and somebody had to be present when that was happening to JonBenet, because this person, these are older people. They're not going to get out too late. Ain't nobody, Linda Hoffman Pugh is older. She ain't going to be, out all times of night. She's probably going to be in by 9 o'clock. For what am I out in the streets for? 9 o'clock. So Linda and Mervin pull up. They would have probably pulled up at 11 at the latest. Pulled up at 11:30 at the latest. And maybe they were at their own Christmas party. Pull up. Let me get this check real quick. And take care of business. Burke is up eating his snack. JonBenet has to be down there. And so from there, Burke has to be watching, or whatever is happening to JonBenet, things take a left turn. Maybe Mervin comes in, is what you're telling me, what you're wanting me to suspect or speculate. Mervin comes in, he bum rushes, move, Linda. You know what I'm saying? You know how I am. You know what I have to have. You know what I need. Move, Linda, get out of my way. And so Mervin comes in and he goes right into his P mode and, he attacks JonBenet, takes her downstairs. Burke sits there, says nothing. And, he goes downstairs. He's interested. He's watching. And it's a very crude thought. I realize that, but he's watching, but it has to be that way. And Linda, this is an audience. Everybody has to be sitting there watching, saying things like, oh my goodness, Mervin he was basically staging a standoff down in the basement, and Burke and I, and, we had to stand by and watch because he had a weapon to us. And all the while, Patsy is supposed to be upstairs packing. She hears nothing. Cannot be Linda Hoffman Pugh and Mervin. Because if Burke was back downstairs, we crunched the timeline, then Burke is probably going to be up. He probably gets up at about 10:45 or what have you. He gets up at 10:45, goes back downstairs. We got 10:45 to 2 a.m. and JonBenet was dead by 2 a.m. She was dead by like 1. She was dead by like 1 p.m. So that's 10:45 to 1. JonBenet was dead at 1. So there had to be something happening. Something can happen in 20 minutes. So if we estimate up, it had to be 10:45 to 12:40. So that's like a 2-hour gap. But this has to develop. Something has to develop. They have to pull up. Something has to happen. There has to be some sort of altercation. And that's a lot to be developing, because this was something that was done in secrecy. So nobody could be around. That's what I'm saying. This had to be something that was done in secrecy where no one was around. And that's why it makes it hard, because Linda and Mervyn would not be coming in the secrecy of night. Fleet White would not be coming, I don't think, would not be coming in the secrecy of night. Anyways, I think that's about the end of the video.
100%. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, I would give my life on the fact that as I sit here now, as God is my witness, my sister did not abuse, harm, or kill her child. My brother-in-law did not abuse, harm, or kill his child. The naysayers will come at me.
That's what they're talking about. I saw somebody in the comments say, what about Burke? That's what I'm saying. We're not doing this. Y'all keep on doing this. John very clearly, and I can't remember where else he did this, but John very clearly left out Burke. He and Pat on the Larry King interview, we saw that. They said, me and my wife are not guilty. Yeah. But we also know that you also know that we're asking about Burke as well, right? You know that. We're asking about Burke. And then now Pam, from an outside perspective, having communicated with John and Patsy, Pam is like, I know, shaking your head and going in crazy and doing all that. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that my sister did, and my brother-in-law did not abuse and kill their child. Okay. What about Burke? Please, with the same energy, exonerate him, please, so we can know. And I'm not saying we're going to believe you, because we have to follow the evidence, but I would like to hear you say it for behavioral consistency. I really would. It would do something for me. It would make me feel good that you are actually believing and pouring in to the story that you're telling me. That's what it would do. But consistently, this is like the second or third time I've heard you guys skip over Burke and that's been the story. My wife and I have not done it. My wife and I have not done it. My wife and I. Yes. What about Burke? Please. And so the only thing really that there is to stand on is DNA. That's it. And the DNA is faulty. We know that. We knew the DNA was going to be faulty out of the gate. When the scene was being contaminated, when you have John putting his hands on JonBenet and laying her on the ground in the entryway where several people have walked, you know what I mean? And then the coroner comes in at 8:00 and does his thing at 8:00 to 8:30 or something like that. I think they criticized him for only taking 10 minutes to look at the body. And we'll look at that a little bit more. But he comes in and says, hey man, looks like there's a, when we collect data, when we collect information on the forensics, there's a lot going on, is essentially what the DNA is saying. There's a lot going on. Well, and this is when you're in a PhD program, or when you get your PhD and you're a researcher, what you're trying to do a lot of times is you're trying to understand the motivations, and you're doing research, you're trying to disentangle for the true story. And if our initial premise, the basis of our research is way off, then the rest of the article, the rest of the research is going to be off because your initial premise was off. And so the touch DNA idea of, oh, there's an unidentified male DNA. Absolutely not. Because that entire premise is off. If you just give me something and say, test this, then sure, that's going to be the result. But if we step back and think, why? Why is there an unidentified male? What happened? What are the circumstances surrounding? Then we can start to say, well, dang, JonBenet was down, as far as what we know, JonBenet was downstairs and John picked her up, brought her up. That's John's DNA. Touch. Linda Arndt was doing some things. Touch. Detectives, forensic analysts in and out of the scene. Their shoes, everything. Touch. Not to mention, you lay on the ground where people have walked. Touch. You have people there till, I think 3 o'clock in the morning, one report said. Touch, 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 touch. All of that, boom. And that's what I'm saying. You got to know where the machine will go wrong, where the machine will be faulty. But anyway, I can go on forever on that. That is the video. Obviously not too much there, but let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for support. And until next video, take it easy.